Brandon, I think there's been a lot of strong takes this weekend, particularly after the races in the series that we regularly cover here, Trucks and Xfinity, and the kind of racing that we saw. Maybe not so much racing at times as it was kind of a demolition derby out there, it seemed. What's your take on the current state of Atlanta Motor Speedway 2 years into this Atlanta Super Speedway experiment, if you will? Because I know it's a very divisive topic.
Man, has it already been 2 years?
Well, this will be the second year.
Okay, so, right. Okay, gotcha.
Year. Yeah.
Wow, I was having to check myself there for a minute. Yeah, Atlanta Motor Speedway, being Atlanta Super Speedway is really what we should be calling it. I wonder if that name ever will change, but probably not because of the SMI ties and all of that. But the banking was raised. We had those 2 races last year with that fresh pavement, and it just became this hybrid of it's like Daytona and Talladega, but just condensing it down to a 1.5 mile area. It makes for some really just on the edge of your seat, very paranoid kind of racing, as I would assume, just being tightly knit packs the whole time, but in just a closed quarters, closed space. And surprisingly, the Cup Series guys handled it really well Sunday afternoon, most of it just going green. But where we really had our issues, though, were the Craftsman Truck Series and the Xfinity Series at Atlanta. So just looking at this past weekend in particular, the track surface aging already a year old, you can kind of tell how it's changed with the aging of the track. It's not as black as it was. It's kind of more of a gray now. Hopefully that aging process will help things, help the racing product a little bit more. But it was the trucks and the Xfinity Series we really need to talk about, because it was pretty bad out there as far as just trying to keep some green flag laps going. And I don't know if this is just the rookies in the field. We do say that a lot, or if it's something to do with the track itself. I honestly, in my personal opinion, I didn't see what was wrong with just doing a simple repave of Atlanta and getting that track to, give the patience for a few years for it to age again, and then we can get back to that product we know and love. But some people that make more money than we do and have a higher position than we do thought it would be best for financially to make what we have now, which is the very banked Atlanta Super Speedway. And it's kind of dangerous. It seems dangerous, but we're not there. And it seems dangerous. It seems like it's putting these drivers on edge. And maybe this is what they wanted. I'm sure the fans love it. I'm sure it's a blast to be there to see it. I went to Atlanta in 2018, so I did see it in its former state when it was very cracked and very bruised. And the driver said, "Don't pave it, don't pave it." But I really wonder how this track is going to age, if any, as far as handling, or if we're just going to see year after year this type of racing that is good for now, but I really hope it's not a safety issue in the future. I'm sure they consider these things, but it's very antsy racing compared to Talladega and Daytona, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to touch on there. Obviously, like I said, it's a hot topic, especially whenever we go there now in these 2 dates a year. I don't think the name is going to change. I mean, if anything, they've gone in the opposite direction. Dover, what was Dover Downs International Speedway, my home track, is now Dover Motor Speedway. I'm still not used to that. So they seem to have they like their motor speedways SMI. Although now when I think about it, there's Sonoma Raceway, right? So I don't know. I mean, I know about the course, so it's a little bit different. But anyway, you hit the nail on the head, I think, with Xfinity and trucks in particular. And Matthew Bro was talking about this on Wrap Up yesterday. Obviously, this isn't an Atlanta issue by itself. There seems to have been, with the current generation, and I don't want to, make a blanket statement and throw every single driver under the age of 25 or whatever in Xfinity or trucks under the bus, but I feel like the current generation, and I'm just thinking, myself here, I'm about to turn 24 this summer. I was a kid when NASCAR came out and said boys have edit. It was like the third or fourth season I was watching the sport. So I almost don't know a world different. And if these kids are younger than us, coming up through these ranks in ARCA trucks and Xfinity, they certainly don't know a different world than the boys have edit era, if you will. So I think that there's that maturity factor, and again, not simply an Atlanta issue, but we can have that issue at every track we go to. But when you turn Atlanta into a mini Daytona or Talladega, and bring that style of racing, which is already close and dangerous, like you were mentioning, and you put it on a track that's a mile shorter, I think you're inviting trouble, especially for drivers that sometimes don't necessarily know where the limit is, and sometimes go a little bit over it, or sometimes the immaturity kicks in, and they don't race with enough common sense, like what you see in the Cup Series. So I think we saw a mix of that, all throughout trucks and Xfinity. Obviously, it seemed like it was almost impossible to get a green flag run going. And obviously, we'll go into a little bit deeper detail in each of those races here later in the show. But I just think, if you're a race fan and you have a local home track that you, really like and can attend races at, particularly at the national touring series level, if you hear the words reconfiguration, I don't know, but there's a great track record with improving the product here, because I think a lot of fans, and again, I'm sure people are going to say that the mentality is just, it's the boomer mentality of older is better, but they reconfigured Phoenix once and took out the grass and the dog leg, and people didn't like that, and then they doubled down on Phoenix and completely changed the location of the start finish line and the layout of a track there. I think this is not an unpopular opinion. They've completely destroyed Texas Motor Speedway, and they've tried to fix it with the PJ1 and everything in the track. I think every time we go there now, people are saying bulldoze it and turn it into a Walmart. I think that's a very, very unpopular track at this point after what they did there. And I'm afraid, this Atlanta Motor Speedway now, what we've done, some people are going to have a similar opinion of that track if they don't already. Maybe a few years from now, as the surface continues to age, and I know we were talking before we went live here, is this super speedway style racing going to be something that's feasible in a few years if the surface continues to degrade and the grip level continues to go away? Is this package even going to be a possibility, which is the whole point of redesigning the track? So, obviously it was time to repave it. They probably squeezed 1 or 2 more years out of it than they should. But I'm with you. I would have been patient enough to say, look, the racing may not have been as great as it was last year, but we just repaved it. Let's give it some time, and eventually it'll age out and we'll get the same great Atlanta racing that we always got. I suppose from a logistics perspective, there's never a better time to reconfigure than if you got to repave a track anyway, since you're already doing so much work. But I personally, I don't think that this has been, such a unanimous, fans looking at this and having a unanimous opinion that this was absolutely an improvement and better than what we had here at Atlanta before the reconfiguration. And I think that, the whole point of it was to try to improve the racing, improve the product. I don't know that we've gotten to that point, especially in the Xfinity and Truck Series races, which at times, because of how many cautions we were seeing, were borderline unwatchable.
Yeah, it was really sad with the trucks and Xfinity. And I hope that as we go on, I mean, of course, it's not going away, so we have to learn to deal with the cards we're dealt. But I really hope that the patience level as these for the trucks and Xfinity is going to increase over the years. They're going to have to give some sort of level of patience here, because this track style is not going to change at Atlanta now. And I'm just surprised at how, I'm not surprised, but like you look at the cup race, it was just so, I mean, I'm not really a fan of that sort of racing personally, but they were able to keep it green. And I mean, albeit single file some of the times, and look at the Xfinity series, and if they were just so tired of it being yellow for so many different times, they just decided to, it looked like they just all agreed in unison, you know what, just hook it to the high side and keep it single file so we can get to the end of this thing.
Yeah, well, that might have been part of it as well. Maybe they've watched the Xfinity and truck races and said, let's, take it a little bit easier for the first and second stages, and just make sure we get to the end first, and then we can have our race in the third and final stage. I just checked the Gluck poll. I personally voted no. because again, this just isn't my kind of racing, and I felt like it was single file for much of it. I know we did get an exciting finish, but I don't think a great finish can completely make up for, the poll doesn't ask, did Atlanta have a good finish? Was Atlanta a good race? So you have to take the whole race into consideration in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's 52 yes, 48 no on Jeff Gluck's weekly. Was it a good race poll? So, I mean, that tells you how split it is in terms of fan opinion there. So,
and look,
I don't know.
The Truck Series and Xfinity Series, there's really no excuse. Another one of my opinions. I don't really, as an outsider though, I don't really think there's any excuse for the Truck Series and Xfinity Series to have that bad of a product. They should be at that level. The top 3 series, they should be able to race competently, at least to not break the record. I mean, they were acting so surprised on the television whenever we broke the record for cautions at Atlanta. Like, well, yeah, because this isn't Atlanta. This is the new Atlanta product. So this is going to be a whole different scale. But still, for some reason, I guess the Truck Series and Xfinity Series rookies and all are still figuring this place out. But coming into the future years, there's got to be some change as far as how it's driven, because you're in the top 3 series of the sport. You can't be doing those things and expect them to work. And I don't know if it's just the influx of rookies again, or I sound like a broken record now, if it's the influx of rookies, or if it's just the nature of the racing. But I mean, it's not that bad at Talladega or Daytona, but we've been going there for years.
Yeah, well, and I'll catch up on the chat here in a second, but just to bounce off a couple more points there. I think Justin Allgaier, when he got out of his car for his post-race interview, he basically said this is an embarrassment for our sport, to put on a product like this, and the fans deserve better. And there's actually a tweet from one of my mutuals on Twitter, Hunter Wofford, who I guess was at the race. I don't know him too well. I just, he's a mutual follow on social media, but he tweeted out, I guess this would have been yesterday. So as the Cup race was going on, I can't believe I wasted $150 on this fill in the blank. Brought my little brother along for his first race, and it's hard to keep him occupied now. I think this will be the last trip I make to Atlanta for a while. What a joke, man.
Those stands were filled. Well, they weren't that filled on Friday and Saturday, and Fox made sure that we got to see every single fan, didn't they?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry to put you on that one.
Yeah.
But Sunday, it was pretty filled. I hope we still see that same attendance in the coming years. I think, of course, the Cup Series race was the best product all weekend, bar none. But I hope the aging process of the track will help things as well. I was surprised to see a quote, I think that Chase Briscoe gave to PRN at some point in their garage pass that we carry at my station here. He said something about the handling being a factor at Atlanta, and by watching that, there's no way we're thinking that, but that's cool. That's cool at least to see from a driver's perspective that possibly there is some sort of handling being a factor in that's only going to increase, hopefully, as it ages again.
Yeah. Well, and I think, a tweet like this, I'm sure Hunter wasn't alone. I'm sure there were fans that were there that loved it. I'm not, trying to put all the fans in a box here, but they always say, like, you'll never have a bad time if you actually go to the racetrack. Well, clearly, a couple of
somebody had a bad time.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So again, but like you said, we're not advocating for them to tear the place up again. We've got what we've got for the next several years, but I'm starting to think this might have been a mistake. I don't know that the reception has been as positive as they were anticipating it might be. Trying to give the fans another super speedway race, and I guess I will give NASCAR some credit for being for continuing to think outside the box with the schedule. And try new ideas, but this is one that I think they probably should have, left on the drawing board and not actually, put out there in reality.
I mean, it's one of those deals that they went through iRacing first and tried to, they went through that design first and tried to have it simulated out. I do applaud SMI and NASCAR for working together, and also for working with iRacing to try to make something out of a new repave. I mean, you can't blame them for trying.
Sure.
There's a lot of great engineering that went into that, and I really enjoyed following the progress updates. I remember when they were paving this place, just getting updates from, I think, Tyler Head, possibly. Is that name ring a bell?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
And all the grounds crew there working on that. I mean, it's just really cool to watch them do that. And I was kind of optimistic about it before we got the first race. And you know what? I actually enjoyed the first race in the spring of last year. It was the one that Byron won. It was kind of enjoyable, but I don't remember too much the truck and Xfinity events last year, springtime, either, though. So again, this might just be a lower series issue.
Well, yeah, and I mean, maybe the fact that we can't recall much of what happened there.
That may also be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that says they weren't so memorable. I remember, on wrap up, this was before you even joined Grid, Brandon. My first year after the July race, I think it was the July race at Atlanta. We had a whole segment on drivers speaking out against the Atlanta changes. Like it hadn't even happened yet, and they were already saying, "I think we're making a mistake here. I don't know if this direction that we need to be going." So again, I mean, it's going to be very interesting because this is what we've got for the next however many years before they need to repave it or decide to try something different again. It's not going to be an every couple of year thing, but yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch the evolution of this track going forward as the surface ages.
It was a lot of money, so yeah, I hope they were sure.
That leads us right into the chat.
There it is.
All about the money for SMI. Texas is next. Well, that I to be honest with you, that is, I think, the one thing that they could do to Texas that would make it more frustrating for me than what we currently have there. If they just decide to clone Atlanta, and do that to reconfigure Texas Motor Speedway, I think, even if you like the Atlanta product, let Atlanta be the mini super speedway on the schedule. I don't think we need.
Don't make another one.
And then you got 8 super speed. Well, I don't know. I don't even remember. Texas, I guess, had the All-Star race, which went to North Wilkesboro. Whatever, 7 or 8 super speedway style races. You're getting close to a quarter of the schedule there. I don't think that it's the whole road course thing again, right? It's a great product, but part of what makes it special is we don't do it that often, right? So
and I'm afraid they're trying to appeal to the young NASCAR fan that believes that all NASCAR is just cars go fast as they can around big speedway, and we all watch. Like there's so much more to it than that. And if you make the majority of the schedule this product, it loses its luster, and it makes a mockery out of what the sport once was.